What's up guys, Winter Kills here, and welcome to a brand new test hand video. You guys voted in that poll that I posted the other day, so I appreciate everybody that voted on that. So thank you for the feedback and the input. I'll try to get to all the other options that I posted alongside that poll just to not leave anything out. The Mermail, the Marincess, and I believe that one was Burning Abyss. By the way, the Rock Burning Abyss deck is absolutely so much fun. But I've got an updated build of Shaddoll that I've been working on for quite some time. There is one proxy in here, and it's this Chaos Sorcerer. This is supposed to be a second copy of BLS. I just don't own a second copy yet, and I'll be getting to one soon. But this build, I've been liking a lot. I've been putting a ton of hours into this deck and testing out multiple card choices, bringing things into the deck, out of the deck, into the deck, out of the deck, and just trying a whole bunch of different things. So I'm going to be going through this test hand video similarly to how we usually do, but thanks to this new camera rig that I bought, this stand, I can get sort of a wider view of this mat here, by the way, which is from Imperium Duelist. Link to them down in the description. I can get a wider view of the mat, so I can actually help like simulate what other fields we'll be playing against. And we'll choose like 3 random decks to play against. We'll choose like an Orcust board, a Thunder board, and a Salamangreat board, or decks we'll have to play through. Like the standard, you know, the board that they'll create, because that's all I can really, you know, we can really predict so much. And I think it would just be interesting if we sort of mix things up and gave ourselves sort of like a challenge of things to play through, as opposing to just being like, oh, no, they could have this, they might have this, etc., etc. Let's just actually say that they have a certain set of cards for us to work through. But yeah, we're going to start off with the Thunder board, and it's going to be like just classic double Colossus, and we'll see if we can play through that. Again, it could be like Colossus Titan, but for the sake of this, we'll just do Colossus and double Colossus, actually. So, yeah, without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Again, quick shout out to Imperium Duelist if you're interested in this playmat or the sleeves that I'm using. A link to their website can be found down below in the description. You can use that discount code WinterKills10 off to save 10% off your entire order. And if you're buying anything on TCG Player, any singles or sealed product, use my affiliate link down in the description below to help support me in the process, as I will receive a small portion of the revenue of your purchase. So much appreciated for those that decide to do that. So yeah, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into this test hand video. Hope you guys are going to like this format where we have to actually play against an actual scenario. I'm not going to get out actual real cards. I'm just going to like put them digitally on the screen where they would be. So maybe like double Colossus right here, and is what we'll have to play through. So we're starting off with Photon Thrasher, an opening hand here. Instant Fusion, El Shaddoll Fusion, Shaddoll Fusion, copy of Damage Juggler, and our 6th and final card is the Spellbook of Knowledge. So this is a card that I'm starting to play at 1 again, because we play so many spellcasters in this deck that are pretty much all normal summons. And it can turn like any bricky normal summon that isn't a good starter, like Mathematician or something. If we have to like hard draw like Squamata, or in this case, like if we have to draw the Damage Juggler, we can just turn it into extra draws. Same thing if you compare these 2 cards together. This can make this live instantly. Also get a Winda Engrave. It's just a lot of synergy in here. So I'm not dedicating a full Spellbook engine. I've tried a full Spellbook engine, and I just don't like it that much because it just conflicts too much with Mathematician, which is like your primary normal summon for this deck. But right now, as it stands, they have double Colossus, and we can't add anything from our deck to our hand except by drawing. Luckily for us, we can only really draw cards right now. And I mean, Thunder in and of itself really isn't too hard of a matchup for this deck, because we don't do a lot of searching. The only thing that really turns off is like Trick Clown, or the Damage Juggler, the search off that, so that's not too big of a deal. But yeah, and Hedgehog. Well, we're going to start with the Thrasher. We have a couple options here. We have the ability to go Instant Fusion for Thousand Eyes in order to steal one of their Colossus, and I'm actually going to summon this over here. Doesn't make too big of a difference, but I am deciding to play a Thousand Eyes Restrict in here just because it gets a lot. You have like a lot of utility off of the Instant Fusion. The more options we have, the better plays we can make with said options. So yeah, I think at this point, we'll start with the Instant Fusion. And even if they had Titan at this point, like, it doesn't make too big of a difference. Like, they have to burn their effect on their Titan effect like now, or else they're just going to lose it forever. But yeah, we'll start with the Thousand Eyes Restrict. We'll activate Thousand Eyes. We'll go ahead and slurp up their Colossus, at least one of them. Then at this point, we'll just go ahead and Knowledge away the Thousand Eyes. So we'll get to draw 2, also clearing one of the Colossuses. We'll draw into a Dragon and a Trick Clown. So that's pretty good. Trick Clown will help us get some plays going here. Now that they still have one Colossus on the field, and let's say it's not in the extra monster zone, we're going to have to go ahead and start with the Shaddoll fusion, and we'll actually be able to fuse from deck since they do control something that was special summoned from the extra deck. And here I'm going to send a copy of Squamata and a copy of Photon Thrasher, just to deck thin the other lights out of our deck that we don't really need, since we already have the one Thrasher. So let's send, where's that Squamata? I just gotta find it. There we go. Current Shaddoll lineup in here is 2 Beast, 2 Hedgehog, 2 Falco, 2 Squamata, 1 Dragon. I was trying 2 of each, minus Hound, but I think 2 Dragon is a bit too much, just because not many back row decks, so not really much to take advantage of there. So now that we've done this, we'll go Chainlink 2, Chainlink 1. And we're going to send Beast off of Squamata, and we're going to send Falco off of Construct. Just do those chain links just like that. Either way, we're going to get a draw or a summon back here, which is nice. Now, the one thing that is pretty rough is that Construct doesn't do too much to Thunder Dragon fusions because they protect themselves from destruction, and Construct's effect is mandatory. So now in a new chain, we'll do Falco 2, Beast 1, so we can chain block, summon this here, and we'll draw an additional card off the top. We draw Rhoda. That's unfortunate, as we don't really have any search targets at this point. This is, again, why I was considering... I don't know if I'll still do it, but, like, I really like the idea of Rhoda in here because it gives us a lot of options. Like, if we need a light and we already have a normal summon secured, we can Rhoda for Thrasher. That gives us an early starter for Link Fodder or a light target. But if we already have Thrasher, we could Rhoda for something like Armageddon Knight or Raiden to get additional graveyard effects. So I might go, like, in the end, instead of the second Thrasher, like, I might just make it like a Raiden. Just so, and I might cut like a Math Man or something, because I think having 4 normal summons is too much, especially with playing the Rhoda. So I might go like 2 Math Man, drop a Math Man, and maybe like add in a Raiden or an Armageddon Knight. And then maybe drop the Thrasher for something else. I'm not entirely sure what it's going to be. Not sure yet. So this is unfortunately dead. I could have sent a different light target, like Damage Juggler, but it'd be dead in our graveyard anyways. So yeah, with this given situation, we really have no other choice at this time. My extra deck right now is... I do have a Nightmare Unicorn in here, but I'm opting like not to play Unicorn. I was also playing Castell as an option too, but like the extra deck space is so tight with trying to have to add in like the Thousand Eyes package with Link Karibo and Thousand Eyes. Like, it'd be weird in a situation like this to try to out the Colossus. But if we did have Apgalone, we would be able to out it because we could just fusion that and negate its effects, but we'd still have to worry about running over it, which could be problematic. So I think with this, I mean, it also depends. If they have not a lot of Thunders in their graveyard, we could possibly just take out the Colossus by destroying it by battle and then also destroying it by card effect with the Construct, so that's something else we could do. But here, I think I might do this. Possibly, like, we could link these off. And since we haven't normal summon, we could link this off into Lambda or IP Masquerena. And then we can, since we haven't normal summoned yet, we could actually still make a pretty decent play here. We could normal summon the Damage Juggler, and then we could play the Shaddoll Fusion, the El Shaddoll Fusion, and fuse these two off for another Construct. We'll activate Construct's effect. We also get to add back our Fusion here. Don't want to forget that. But yeah, now we can go Chainlink 1 and Trick Clown Chainlink 2. We'll summon the Trick Clown, and we'll send another Shaddoll from our deck to the graveyard, another Shaddoll card. I'm probably just going to send... Well, we can't add anything, so Hedgehog is not really an option here. So we'll just send Core, and Core will add us back our Fusion. And at this point, we can make Borreload. Or, like I said, if I was playing like a more versatile rank 4 package, like I want to. Like, I want to try to find a way to fit, Castell in here and, like, Emerald, because those are both really good options. Again, this extra deck space is just so tight. So we'll take the 1,000, but then we can link these all off into a copy of Borreload Dragon. So we're still able to out their field, essentially. So Borreload takes the Colossus, we swing for 28, and next turn, we can just set all of these cards here. I would just set the actual El Shaddoll Fusion, keep these two in hand. And then during their turn, if we need to, we can fuse off with their Colossus, which I believe is a dark, and our construct for a Winda if they are like gonna do their one special summon, whatever it may be, off instant fusion or whatever, or off of roar, and just completely lock them out for a turn, and then we get to resolve this next turn, and we kind of win from there. Yeah, so long as we can like prevent them from getting into Titan with the El Shaddoll fusion by going into Winda, because it can be pretty easy to telegraph, like, okay, they're going Roar or Hawk, like we just chain the El Shaddoll fusion, we make Winda, and then their turn pretty much stops there, and they're not running over our Winda because we have Borreload. They're going to need something with 2700 attack to be able to even crash, so yeah, that just puts us in a pretty good spot. So that's it for that test hand. I went a bit more in depth with that one against a typical Thunder board, double Colossus, maybe Colossus Titan. I figured we'd start with double Colossus because I don't know how double or Colossus Titan might work out if we don't see cards like Super Poly. But again, I think maybe for this next test hand, I might like make that change that I was talking about where I drop a Thrasher and drop a Mathematician for like a Raiden, and then maybe like one other card. I'm not entirely sure. Alright, so the cards I ended up swapping in were for the Thrasher. I dropped it for a copy of the Nefarious Archfiend Eater of Nefariousness, which if we control a spellcaster monster, we can special summon it from our hand, and then during your opponent's end phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can target one face-up monster you control, destroy it, and if you do special summon this card. So this has always been like a decent card to play in here because we play so many spellcasters. And then the other card I added in place of the Thrasher was an Armageddon Knight, so another row to target if we already exhaust our Thrasher, things like that. So we're going to play against a typical Orcust board now, and I believe that's just like Dingirsu with Galatea, like Dingirsu here, Galatea here, and then a set Climax. Underneath the Dingirsu, probably a Long Girsu and a Symbol Skeleton with a pretty decent graveyard, maybe a Gizmek engrave. But yeah, we're going to need to be able to break this board going second. Game one, so no side cards here to add into that factor. So we're going to cut the deck. Our opponent is going to go off and do their normal plays, and we're going to draw into our hand here and see what we can make work. So right off the bat, not looking too good. We do draw the Nefarious Archfiend Eater. We do have a BLS. Again, this is a proxy for BLS, not actually Chaos Sorcerer. Although this card isn't terrible, BLS is just better, I guess. I guess if you wanted like a budget option for BLS, this is your next go-to. It is a spellcaster too, so it is knowledgeable. But anyways, so they have Galatea, they have Dingirsu, they have a set Climax. So our main issue right now is destroying via card effect, which again we're having a hard time dealing with, similar with the last test hand against Thunder. Again, because Construct really only destroys by card effect. And a lot of times we have a hard time dealing with things that can't be destroyed by card effects. So I think the extra deck can definitely have some like room in there. So maybe not Exciton, maybe Shaddoll will be the call, because I think about a lot of the best decks protect against destruction. You have if you destroy against Salamangreat, they have Balinx. If you try to destroy against Orcust, they have Dingirsu. If you try to destroy against Thunder, they have Colossus Titan, etc., etc. So maybe this card isn't the best call, and Shaddoll actually is the GOAT. Shaddoll has some synergy by being able to book your own stuff face down, i.e. your Shaddoll monsters, etc., etc. But we do have to make something work with this hand, and we're going to start with Allure of Darkness. Now, the likelihood of them negating the Allure right off the bat seems unlikely to me. But again, I could be wrong. Maybe they do negate it. If they do, we still have some plays. We're going to banish the Shaddoll Beast, so the cat's out of the bag. They know we're playing Shaddolls, and possibly have Shaddoll Fusion in our hand. But we do have Call by the Grave, which is a card I'm playing at 2 in here, because I would hate the thought of ever drawing 2. But I think now I'm just going to go ahead and, because I know this is going to get negated. The El Shaddoll, or the Shaddoll Fusion is going to get negated. So maybe we don't lead with the Shaddoll Fusion, because we can still fuse from our hand regardless. Now, this would be Photon Thrasher either way, if we didn't make the cuts we made from the last test hand, but I don't think it's going to make too big of a difference. Now, this is supposed to be a boss, so this is a light monster and a dark monster. So we're going to go for El Shaddoll Fusion. Now, if they negate the El Shaddoll Fusion, which, again, I don't think they would, because they're going to expect Construct, and Construct really isn't too much of a threat. But again, they might know Shaddoll Dragon's coming, so they might just opt to negate the fusion in the first place. But again, if they do, it's inevitable. We have the Shaddoll fusion in our hand, so something is happening here. So we're gonna go Chainlink 2, Chainlink 1. Actually, I think I'm gonna do Construct 2, Beast 1, because I don't want to risk drawing into the cards we're trying to send off Construct off of our Beast, so we'd rather get those out of the deck first. So I'm actually just going to send the Dragon. Yeah, we don't want to risk drawing into the Dragon, so we're gonna send Dragon, and then we're gonna draw. So I think that's the smarter play. And again, they could have just negated the Construct with the what is it, the Climax. So technically they could have done that. So let's say they do negate that, they banish it, we don't get to send the Dragon, and we get to draw a card. So we got to keep it realistic. So I feel like if you're an Orcust player and you see a Construct trying to resolve while you have the Climax, I feel like that's a decent thing to negate. But again, the Dragon is inevitable. We're drawing into Upstart Goblin. I would probably play the Shaddoll Fusion first because I don't want to draw into things we're trying to send off the Shaddoll Fusion. So we're going to play Shaddoll Fusion first. Their negation has been burned, so we don't have to worry about that too much. I'm going to send Squamata. I'm going to also send the Damage Juggler. And we're going to go for another Construct, because again, Construct is not a once per turn. Not even close. So we'll go Chainlink 2, Chainlink 1. We'll go ahead and send Falco, and we'll go ahead and send the... what do we have in our hand here? We'll send... we'll send the Falco, and... what else do we want to send? Where's Falco? There's Falco. We're definitely going to send Falco, because we have Beast set up. And I also want to send... we'll send the Shaddoll Core, because we want to get back one of our fusions. That's for sure. So... we'll go Chainlink 2, Chainlink 1. Falco will reset itself, and then the core is going to activate to add us back a copy of either the Shaddoll Fusion or the L Shaddoll Fusion. I'm going to go for the regular Shaddoll Fusion. I feel like that's just much better against this matchup. Actually, no. We're going to grab L because we want some interaction on their turn next turn. So we'll grab the L. Then we'll banish and search our Damage Juggler because we don't want to draw into Damage Juggler here. We'll just add the common one. Drawing into like a BLS or something would be amazing, but we had to unfortunately burn our BLS to be able to make these plays to begin with, because we kind of had to play around the Climax. That's just how it is against Orcust. But then we'll draw here off the Upstart Goblin. We draw into Mathematician, which is really good because I don't think we've even normal summoned at this point. So our Clown and our Archfiend Eater are going to be live essentially here. So we can normal Mathman. They still have Dingirsu and Galatea, which is just painful to deal with. We'll send Hedgehog. Hedgehog will add us Dragon, because we want to be able to keep pressure on their field spell next turn if we can. Now Dingirsu has 2 materials underneath it, which means we could technically clear both. They do not have their field spell up in this specific scenario, so we could potentially put a lot more pressure on here. So let's go ahead and special summon the Archfiend Eater again, just to put more pressure on. And let's go into battle phase. We'll hit the Dingirsu, he'll detach. We'll hit the Dingirsu again, he'll detach. And then from there, that's really all we can do. And we just granted dump both their targets in the graveyard, but it's going to be good bait for them next turn, or for us anyways, because we have call by, so we can hit whatever they're trying to summon off of the Symbol Skeleton. That Dingirsu we have an answer for. And we also have the ability to make a Winda on their turn as well. Granted, we didn't need to summon this. We could just hold on to this for next turn, actually. There's no point in putting this out on the board. This will help us make a rank 4 next turn, though. So we play it out. We pass it back to them. We're definitely going to want to set the call by and the L. They have Galatea and Dingirsu still. They're probably going to use Galatea at the start of their turn to either grab another Climax or their field spell. They're going to try to go for Dingirsu. We have the call by the grave. Maybe they have a danger or something that they're trying to resolve. Because it's kind of typical with that deck. They do play dangers. Or maybe they have a Greffer. Or maybe they're activating Harp Horror or something. We're going to chain to that. And then we're just going to fusion right into Winda. And really, at that point, they're kind of just forced to stop playing. And then If they did set anything that they haven't used yet, it's just going to get destroyed off of the dragon. They don't have any way to protect it with Dingirsu since we've exhausted all of its materials. So it's looking favorable for us there. And next turn, we're drawing into a damage juggler, which isn't too bad. We're going to need to add back our fusion as well. So we have that going for us next turn. So, like, we're in a good spot. It's definitely not a losing game for us. We definitely have a good position, in a good foothold there, even with that weird hand that we opened. If we would have drawn to a BLS, like off of the Beast or the Upstart, we would have been in a really good spot, for sure. Or maybe drawing like an Instant Fusion or something, we would have been really, really good. So I'm going to go and shuffle up here, and we're going to go ahead and play against a Salamangreat board now and see what we can do. Alright, so I actually forgot to hit the record button for this segment of our going against Salamangreat, so I actually have to like redo this entire thing. We were actually able to like lock them out with Winda after clearing some of their cards, but now I'm going to have to do it all over again. So let's go ahead and see if we can actually pull off the same results. But again, if we're going against Salamangreat here, we're going to say they have Sunlight Wolf, Baelings, Mirage Stallion, and a copy of Rage set. I feel like it's more likely in a matchup like this where they don't know exactly what they're playing against, unless they have access to both and got really lucky and have both copies of Rage and Roar set. I feel like if they have to choose for one in the start of an unknown match, game one, I feel like they're going to go for Rage, because Rage is a lot better against certain rogue matchups, since it can clear multiple cards, doesn't target, etc., etc. So we're just going to go ahead and see if we can crack this field enough to leave them in a losing position. So let's go ahead and cut the deck here and see what we can draw into. Upstart Goblin, reinforcing the army, Super Polymerization, Trick Clown, All by the Grave, and our sixth and final card is a copy of Shaddoll Hedgehog. Now, the point that I made earlier was in the section that you guys will never see because I didn't hit record apparently, is that I don't currently main deck any Super Poly targets that could be useful against Salamangreat. I've thought about siding Violet Chimera for this matchup. Again, this is game one, so that wouldn't be in our extra deck at our disposal. Duplexer Chimera is another card that I've thought about siding as well, because it can be decent against some decks, because it just takes 2 Cyberse monsters, I believe. But unless I play Grista, like, I just have nothing else to do. This card is pretty much dead here, honestly, unless we just use it to continue battle phase and, you know, push for more damage, etc., etc. I mean, we could normal summon this and then like just Super Poly and make Grista, but again, I just don't have the room for Grista. Just so wanted to point that out before we go any further. So, Sunlight Wolf, Baelings, Mirage Stallion, and a copy of Rage. Since we opened Rhoda and Upstart together in the same hand, we have 2 really good Rhoda targets in Thrasher and Armageddon Knight. And I would rather draw into a deck with 2 good Rhoda targets before we go ahead and play Rhoda. So if we draw into Thrasher Armageddon Knight, we can just go ahead and Rhoda for the other. So we'll start with Upstart Goblin. We draw into the Instant Fusion, but nothing really changes with the Rhoda. So we're going to go ahead and search for either an Armageddon Knight or a copy of the Thrasher. We already have a light target, so I'm going to go for Armageddon Knight here to get us a secure normal summon and get some of our effects going. So Armageddon Knight, pretty good card in here. Definitely a good change, because if this were the same build we were playing in the first test hand against Thunder, we'd only have the option for Thrasher. So again, more options, the better. But again, they have Rage, they have Mirage Stallion, they have a bunch of threats that we need to get rid of. So I see no other option here other than to go for Instant Fusion, and we're going to have to go for a copy. Now, there's some interesting things we could do here, actually. We could Instant Fusion for, like, I was going to say we can Instant Fusion for Mud Dragon, but that really wouldn't work too much. Because we can't, I don't play 2 Mud Dragons, so we can't, like, make this fire and then fusion into another Mud Dragon. I guess that's something I could do, but we're going to have to go with Thousand Eyes Restrict here. And we'll have to attempt to use Thousand Eyes on one of their monsters. I'd probably go with the Sunlight Wolf to take that. That is the bigger threat. Now, at this point, if they allow us to take the Sunlight Wolf, they only have the ability to destroy 1 card, because they only control the Baelings, which I don't think would have been Link Summon using its own name as material, so they'd have to discard to destroy something at this point. So it puts a bit of a decision in their court. Do they want to burn the Rage on the summon of this and let everything go through? Like, we steal this card, they lose out on the double pop. It's hard to tell. I feel like at this point they would use the Rage just to, you know, leave their whole field intact. But again, if they don't, they still have a live rage. Yeah, I feel like they wouldn't rage here. So let's just go ahead and say that they don't rage. They allow us to take the Sunlight Wolf, because maybe they still want to like wait for the opportune moment to get some sort of effect off. Here we're gonna have to go for Armageddon Knight. Armageddon Knight is going to send any dark monster from our deck to a grave. We're gonna send Squamata. Again, even with the rage, like they can't negate the Armageddon Knight, so we're good at this point. So we're going to send the Squamata send Beast. Same deal if we had the Mathematician. Now there's a couple things we could draw here. Couple things. There's quite a few things we could draw. Spellbook of Knowledge would be really nice. Let's see what we draw. El Shaddoll Fusion. That's what we needed. We needed a fusion spell. So they have let us take the Sunlight Wolf. They're not using the rage just yet. Again, they might have. It depends on who the player is, I guess. But we can attack, so we would have to link here into something else, and that something else is going to be Lambda. So we'll link these two off into Lambda. Now, they could blow that up, but I don't feel like they get too much value out of that. They still have the Balinx and the Mirage Stalia, which is kind of problematic for us for the most part. We still don't have a... Now, I guess one thing we can say is, like, if I had the room to, like, fit a Linkuriboh in here, which on my online build, I do have room for it, so we could actually go into Linkuriboh here. So, yeah, to me at this point, it would make more sense to link off into the Linkuriboh, since I have found room in my extra deck. I'm just not playing Unicorn with Masquerena. The only reason I'm playing Masquerena is it gives us another Link 2 option to go into to make sort of like unaffected or unable to destroy by card effect, Borreload, and Borrelsword, and things like that. But now with this field, we can really do one of two things, and that first thing is try to fusion into a construct, which I guess we'll have to. We'll fusion into construct with those two cards, and then we're gonna be able to resolve some effects here. We're gonna go Chain Link 2 Clown, Chain Link 3 Clown, Chain Link 2 Hedgehog, Chain Link 1 Construct. Here, they're going to have to decide whether or not they want to use the Rage. Let's say they go ahead and use the Rage. They hit the Construct because they know Dragon's coming, so they want to get the value out of it anyways. So that'll activate on a separate chain. We'll get to summon this here. We'll get to add a Shaddoll. I'm going to add Squamata, and we'll go ahead and off the Construct send a copy of Core. Now we'll add this back. Actually, we don't need to do that since the Construct is just going to add back something anyways. So let's just dump Falco to the graveyard. Just like that, and then this will add this back. So we're good. So they still have the very problematic field of the Mirage Stalia and the Balinx. So we have to clear those 100%. We at least can't let the Mirage Stalia stay. That is a no-go. But the thing is that they have the Balinx engraved, so like we could just call by it, I guess. So we just call by the Balinx. That's no deal. And then we could make a rank 4 like Dweller, but I would rather just set this and have them try and play Yugioh. And next turn, if they try to use like Gazelle or something, we chain the El Shaddoll and dump these two off into a Winda and watch them squirm. And then we send Beast, draw, etc., etc. Super probably not doing too much again in game 1, but again, I might main Grista. Maybe I main like Duplex or Chimera and try space for that. It's just the extra. I've said it so many times. Extra space is just so tight. But yeah, that's my second time doing this test stand against Salamangreat, and we're still pull out on top. This time, a little more difficult. It really depends on what the Salamangreat player wanted to do with that rage. Would they have burned it on the Thousand Eyes? Would they have waited, etc., etc.? Who knows? Again, we still had access to get to Construct, so we had the ability to dump an MST to the graveyard regardless. So, anyways, that's going to be it for this test stand video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you want to see test stand videos done like this in the future, at least for going second decks. Put up some hypothetical boards for us to play through. I think it's definitely a lot better because we can go more in depth, just talk about the certain matchups, the strengths and weaknesses we have in it, and things like that. So thank you guys so much for watching. Huge shout outs to everybody in Discord, all my active and regular members. Much appreciation to you guys. You guys know who you are. And a special thanks to all my Twitch subscribers who help go the extra mile to support me and make it easier for me to do what I love to do for you guys, and that's make videos. So, and again, of course, huge shout outs to everybody and all you guys' support. Much love. Hope you guys are having a good day. And as always, when I kill sign out, we'll see you guys in the next one.